I'm just gonna roll the tape. We can edit
Okay,
this
we can
later.
edit it later?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Ms. Campbell, thanks for meeting with me. I know your time is super limited. We only have a short window and then you have class to teach. So I'm gonna get right to the point.
Okay.
I don't know how much you know about this pop cycle, but I'm totally new to this stuff. I just looked at the rubrics, a month ago, so this is new. I've never gone through this process, so it's a good learning experience for me as well. This is our first meeting. I know your husband pretty well. I don't know you very well, so and that's hard for me. I'll be honest with you, because when I have relationships with people, you can dive deeper. You can actually talk and discuss, and especially with coaching teachers, like unless you have a good relationship, you got to kind of stay at the surface,
Right.
because it's easy to offend somebody. If you say the wrong thing, you don't have a relationship, someone could take it the wrong way. So what I learned from this coaching cycle is that they've identified, or they're using language that is really new language for me that I appreciate. Like, for example, I didn't know that there was something as simple as light coaching versus heavy coaching. I know that in the conversations that I have with teachers, I base it on relationships, and when the relationship is good, I can ask, like, hey, do you mind if I kindly push back on some things? And when I feel that it's a good relationship, I do that. But if I feel that the relationship's not good, I don't do that, because there's too much writing on the work we're doing, and I don't want to offend. So, but the goal here is not to do light coaching, which is about relationship, and not to do heavy coaching, which is just, push and push and push and mess up a relationship. So there's kind of a middle ground, a blending. At least that's the way I read this stuff. I don't know. That's my goal with you. But it depends on how it goes, right?
Right.
So we'll see how it goes. So today's our pre-observation, and then I'm going to come in and observe your class, and then there'll be a post-observation. We'll do that next week, and we'll figure out time for that. Okay, so there's a few aspects of this cycle that we're looking at, and the first piece of this is, and so today I'm really, and let me just frame this by saying that, today I'm doing a little bit more talking than I want to do. I'm really, my goal is to really ask questions, and I'm not great at asking questions, so that's an area to grow in for me. But I do want to slow down, and I want to ask more questions and kind of let you just do the talking. Okay, so that's sort of the goal. So I've got a few questions to kind of help us get going with the observation and then the post-observation. So on here, so we're going to be covering your third period class.
Correct.
Right. And what content area is that?
English.
It's English.
Yes.
Okay, so now in Texas, is it English or is it reading or is it a combination of both? Or what is it?
I think I still call it English because it's English language arts and reading.
Okay.
In high school, it's usually just known as English 1, English 2,
Okay.
and I always thought that I would be a high school teacher, and so that's just kind of the terminology. In 8th grade, they take a reading test, so the class is mostly focused on reading.
So the way they're going to be measured is not really. Is there a writing test as well, or is it just strictly
there is
reading?
not a writing test. There are district assessments, but
Yeah.
there is not a STAR test for writing in 8th grade.
Okay.
They take that in 4th grade, 7th grade, and then throughout high school.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So the focus is literacy and
Yes,
reading,
yes.
and that's how they're going to be measured.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So tell me about your kids, period 3. Tell me, like, just generally, like, how many kids do you have? What's the demographics of the kids? What percentage would you say were basic or below basic last year? What percentage were proficient on their assessments last year?
There are 13 kids in that class, but I only see 12 of them because I have one girl who I don't even remember what she looks like because she skips every day or is an ISS, and I never see this child, but she is on my roster, but she is never there. The class is pretty, it's a little bit boy heavy. There's more boys than girls in the class. It is, most of them are economically disadvantaged, like 70% of them. I have one white student who just recently came. She has not been here the entire semester, and the rest of them were a pretty even mix between African American and Hispanic students. They're a good group of kids. They're a nice group of kids, but most of them did not pass their 7th grade STAR test. I think I had 2 or 3, hang on, that actually passed their STAR last year. 3. And the ones who did, it was not with a very large margin. The passing standard was 54, and I think a 60-something was the highest that any one of them made. So there's lots of growth that could still be made with that group of kids.
Sure.
Lots.
Okay, great. That really gives me a good idea of the group you're working with. So as far as so I would be coming in next Thursday. Okay. This is a tough time for you because you're in the middle of STAR.
Yes.
And sometimes these things just happen that way. So, and I don't want you to change anything for me. I appreciate your time. So Thursday when I come in, describe for me explain it to me what do you think, what's going to be the objective of your lesson and also the standard of your lesson? What are you focused on right now?
Well, right now we're in the middle, we're taking a break to prepare for STAR for a couple of weeks of review, but we're in the middle of a novel. And if memory serves me correctly, I believe Thursday, they're going to be reading like a memoir that was written by the author of the novel. The whole purpose of this entire 6 weeks is to create connections between different types of text. And so that's kind of what will be going on. You know, they've read the fiction novel by this author, and they'll be reading this memoir from his life, and so they'll be able to kind of see the connections from the book, which the book is loosely based on his life, like it has some autobiographical like elements in it, but then the memoir is, you know, really about his life, and so the purpose will be for them to create those connections between those two different texts.
So the activity is that the memoir that you're describing, and they're going to try to make so what exactly, and so is there going to be like, what activity, is there a physical activity that they're going to be using?
Well,
is there something that they need to produce?
They'll be reading, you know, they'll be annotating that. There will be some, you know, kind of group discussions about what those things are.
Good.
But the like ultimate thing that they're going to create is like just a short open-ended response, like written answer about what the connections are between those two different texts. What connections do they see between the memoir and the novel from what they've read so far?
And I think I got ahead of myself.
Sorry.
So, no, that's okay, because I should have asked this question. So is there a direct standard that is being covered? What standard? Because you know the English standards a lot better than I do. So
I can't tell you the exact number of it, but there is a standard about, and it's one of those figure 19 standards about creating intertextual links. It's figure 19, I don't know, it goes A through F. It might be D or F. It's one of those.
Okay, we'll take a look at that later on. I'd like to kind of...
it's one of those figure 19s.
Okay, perfect. All right, and so the activity is going to be that short answer response. Is that going to be, and there's going to be some group work, so you're going to, how do you, and I don't want to skip this because, it's okay. We're on to activities and materials. So,
sorry.
No, that's all right, because this is my first time doing this, so it's, you know, I figured I was going to kind of skip it, jump around a little bit. So, as far as assessing that activity, the short, is it going to be used as the short answer text? Is it going to be something you're going to be able to look at right then and there and determine that whether they learned it or not, or is that going to be used as an exit ticket, or is it going to be something that they do for homework, or is that?
It'll probably be the kind of the closing activity, so it'll be like the exit ticket. And since it's I don't know if you've ever seen they call them OERs. The box is like that big, and it's only got a few lines, so it's really short. So it's something that I could look at pretty quickly and figure out, you know, if they were able to see the connections between those two texts. But the memoir itself also has a couple of like standards-based multiple choice questions that we created as well, and so that'll be part of what they're doing, because I know they will have already taken the STAR test at that point, but the chances are that
that's an area
several of them will end up having to take it again, so it never hurts to throw in a few more multiple choice practices.
And this area, this standard that you're covering, how important is it in the overall compared to the tests they're going to be taking, the STAR test? Like,
It's-
is it a significant
Yeah,
portion of the
it's
question?
pretty big. Figure 19 for the ELAR stuff. Figure 19 pretty much just runs through everything. Like it's like a separate little set. Like we've got some standards that are about fiction. We've got they're genre based. But Figure 19 can be paired. Like one of them is inferencing. So it might say 8.6 A Figure 19F because you're inferencing over fiction piece, or you
Right.
might be creating connections with an informational text and a poem, and so that Figure 19 stuff is huge. If the kids could do those 5 things that are on Figure 19, 5 or 6 things, that they would pass every reading test they were ever
So
able
those
to
are
take.
really that's the critical
those
thinking.
are
Those are the
those
skills.
are the process standards is what they call them.
Process
the
standards,
thinking
okay.
process standards,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what we're working on.
Okay, that's helpful for me to understand exactly what you're gonna try to, what the objective is. So in terms of questions that you're asking, like, okay, so when you're leading the group, you're gonna start off with some information, or you're gonna break them off. Eventually, you're gonna break them off into groups and stuff. But during the course of the lesson, you're gonna be asking some questions, I imagine. Have you thought about, or are there some standard questions that you've thought about already for that particular lesson that you're gonna ask?
You
to
know, I do have some, but you kind of caught me at a weird moment, simply because, sorry,
You can pause it.
keep on turning.
It's
No,
okay. We'll just,
I don't need him. It's okay. It's just keep on turning. But you know, like, because I planned these lessons like 3 weeks ago,
yeah.
and then we just all of a sudden, you know, we've got to stop. We've got to do this review for STAR. So
Right.
I have some questions. I just
Okay.
don't exactly.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
I didn't
no,
come
that's
prepared with like my lesson plan printed out or anything.
That's okay. That's okay.
Mhm.
But maybe we could do that for definitely for
Yeah.
the next time.
Yeah.
I feel kind of. I'm gonna be honest. I feel kind of. You know, if if I was a principal of school, we
Yeah.
know each other. We do this at the right time. We meet at the beginning, the middle, and the end, and we're rushing this.
Right.
And you guys are I appreciate your time. So you know, I'm trying to make this as totally as easy as possible for you guys. So you know, I sent you some emails, but it was the week before the
Right.
break, and the timing was wrong. And then I said, okay, I could tell the timing was wrong, so I said, let's just slow down maybe after. But this is not great timing either. So, but I think that to get something valuable from this
Yeah.
exercise, you know, if you could have that for me.
Yeah, and
appreciate it.
I actually just, one of them, a couple of the questions just came to me. And there's some figurative language used in the memoir. And the questions that I had kind of prepared in advance had to do with not like identifying the figurative language, because the kids are generally pretty good at that, but figuring out, you know, what does this achieve? What does the use of this figurative language achieve? What's the purpose? Why did the author do that? And I know specifically that those are some of the questions that are part of it.
Okay.
So,
All right, no, that's good. And in terms of like blooms, what level of questions do you think you're going to be asking? Is it?
gosh, I haven't looked at blooms in so long. We kind of use the Costas, the level
Yeah,
1, 2,
or
and
Costas.
3.
Okay.
They're definitely, you know, I usually kind of start off with some of the level 2
Yeah, that's right.
questions, and then you know, try to end
try to
up with
scaffold up.
the level 3 questions.
Okay.
You know, I feel like that kind of culminating activity that they're going to be doing
Yeah.
with the creating the connections between the 2 texts is more of a level 3 type
Level
thing.
3, okay.
So,
Okay. And next time we can have, maybe I'll bring the Custis level of questions, so we can kind of look at the
Yeah.
kind of questions and stuff like that. So we'll
and
do
I
that.
have, if you want me to grab them, I
Yeah,
have some of
yeah,
them
that's fine. That's actually good.
somewhere. If I can jig through here and find them.
Yeah.